meeting to order.
Roberts. Corey.
Murph, would you please lead us
Corey.
in the
Absolutely.
Pledge of Allegiance?
I was always expecting to be Rob.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
America, we love you.
Okay. Okay. Our election of officers, we're still postponing, waiting for council's appointments. So we'll move past that. Additions, deletions, and corrections to the agenda. I'd like to make one correction to the agenda, and because, the home tour presentation, Carolyn needs to leave early. If we could move that up right under the, minutes of, under July 7th, we'll let her speak and then she can leave. I guess past that, do we have any other deletions or corrections to the agenda? Hearing none, do I hear a motion to accept the agenda as with the correction?
So moved.
Second. Second by Jan, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, hearing none, okay. Moving to the minutes, we have one on July 7th, we have one, kind of a cloudy area we'd like to clear up with the board. It was on the vote for the power washing at the end of the meeting. I had, now, board correct me where I'm wrong, I made a motion that we postpone the power washing this year till next year. Jan seconded it, we had a vote, I voted yes, she voted yes, I think the rest of the board voted no. Is that correct, how you remember it?
I remember.
And then a second motion was made by,
It was it me? I said,
Robert made the second motion.
I may have or seconded
Yeah, that's it.
anyway, so then it was voted,
That then passed unanimously.
yes, and that one passed,
So I'll correct that count on the first motion.
so. Okay, so that's clear. Now I need a motion with that correction that we approve June 9th and July 7th minutes. Do I hear a motion?
Move to approve the minutes of June 9th and July 7th.
With the correction?
With the correction.
Yes. Ellen seconds it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, moving on. Thank you, Board. Development, okay, now we're moving to Carolyn with the home tour presentation. Carolyn.
I'm Carolyn Smith, 1324 Longs Point, and I'm chairman of the Holiday Home Tour. This is just bringing people up to date on where we are. We have not canceled the tour. Excuse me one second, Carolyn.
That's right.
All right, let's make sure you're mic'd up here. Now it's on. Okay. Do I start over?
Yeah.
Yes? Okay. I'm Carolyn Smith, 1324 Longs Point. I'm chairman of the Holiday Home Tour. And this is strictly for informational purposes, just to bring you guys up to date on where we think we are. We haven't canceled the tour. I've given you a handout of what I'm looking at, as well as a fact sheet from 2019, which tells you what happened last year, and a little rack card that will be at the Chamber of Commerce. So that's what we handed out to you. We're trying to continue with the home tour because we think it's a viable event for our nonprofits. You can see on the rack card the 5 that it will be a benefit, as well as the businesses downtown. You can see the importance of that when you read the fact sheet. We're watching 4 different things to see how things are going in the obvious, problem that we're all dealing with. One of them is the Colorado Springs HBA Parade of Homes. It is still going on. It has been delayed or postponed till September 11th, I believe it is. I looked at their website last night, and they have their guidance for attendees on there. Oddly enough, it's pretty much the same thing we came up with. So that will obviously, as things change, we will adapt also. We're also watching the RE2 reintegration plan. I guess they're still having school in person, delayed a week. We're watching the notifications on our event insurance, which is, as you can imagine, they say, we don't cover COVID-19 if anybody says that they catch it at your, that's what they all say. So we're doing that. Then, of course, we're watching the Teller County guidance, and we will be contacting them probably in a month, and just to get their feedback and fill out the application, et cetera, whatever it is we have to do. We're obviously making modifications. We may have to limit the number of in-person tickets sold. We may have to stagger attendees. That'll be interesting, but I have been to a home tour where that is done, so it's not impossible. We'll obviously have our host and homeowners wear masks, but they're going to be cute. Yeah, we're about cute. Yes, they're going to be red and white polka dots, we hope. And then we're going to have the throwaways, for our guests who forget to bring their mask. Hand sanitizer, Vector Bank is providing individual hand sanitizers for our guests. And we'll have, the big jugs at the entrance and exit. And we're going to offer a virtual tour, we hope, for people who are still not comfortable attending in person. So that's the plan as of August 4th. You'll notice we have a new little motto that we put at the end of our agenda. It's on the sheet that I gave you all. And you can read it. I don't know where I found it, but it seemed appropriate. It said, life isn't about waiting for the storm to pass. It's about learning to dance in the rain. That's what we're doing.
Thank you, Carolyn.
Can you sing, Sue?
Thank you, Carolyn. We appreciate that update, and I'm glad you're moving forward with it. That's a good thing. Okay, moving to development proposals of Woodland Station. Tanner, can we have an update from the negotiating committee? And we're happy to see Mike Williams here. We made it there. He does exist. Go ahead.
Well, I'd like to start by saying, thus far, it has been an absolute pleasure to work with Mr. Williams and company while planning this development for Woodland Station. The man and his partners have been professional and patient and understanding and courteous and just wonderful to deal with. So I've really enjoyed them, and it's a pleasure to meet you guys live and in person at this point. So thank you very much for all you've done so far and helping to get us to this point, and for being here today to share and presenting your ideas and potential development plan for Woodland Station. We do have some updated drawings that have come from NES. There are 2 pages that will show. I'd like to review the first page with you guys, so I'm going to go pull that up and walk you through it and then turn it over to Mike, if that's all right.
That's good, thank you. While we're waiting, Murph, do you have anything
No, I
as
just,
part of the negotiating committee to say?
just, that Sally put out some information about the, plating, that we're gonna have to go through a major replat, or a, what is it, was it?
Subdivision.
Major subdivision as opposed to a minor subdivision, which is probably gonna take a little more time, possibly.
Sally, a normal, just normal major subdivision, what's the time on that? Can you give us that?
How long does it take?
Mm-hmm. How long?
It takes 60 days to get through the public hearing process. So it's really the upfront work that you need to do on the preliminary plat and the major final plat. So the actual process is not too long, it's the upfront work.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, this is the first of 2 pages that you'll see. Obviously, this is Woodland Station and surrounding properties. This is a land use diagram.
Can you move the mic over, sir?
Now I can't see.
Take it off there.
Can you hear me? All right. Woodland Station and surrounding properties. This is a land use diagram that John Romero at NES put together for us to simplify in concept the uses and their locations on the property. To some degree, this compartmentalizes the plan that you've seen, that you're familiar with, and that we've been working on, and that you'll see again here shortly. Up on the what we refer to as the Lot 2 area, you see retail and entertainment. Below that, civic and entertainment. To the east here, retail and mixed use, and of course, drainage, extension of Saddle Club. The property here is shown as future with the hope that it can be integrated at some point, or at least developed in conjunction with, in a way that's mutually beneficial with the development plan that's taking place here at Woodland Station. Any questions?
I think this is just kind of simplify what the development will look like, what's entertainment, what's more retail, that kind of thing, just sort of get in the minds.
This is something of a framework for the developers to work within. And if the board finds this appropriate and accepts it, then the developer has some flexibility to work within this framework as they continue to develop their plans.
Okay, good. Robert?
Noticeably missing is, where's parking?
No, it's in there. Where the
Oh,
Ds
it'll
are.
be in the next page.
Yeah,
Oh, the
These
Ds,
these
okay.
are just
More coming.
generalized, so, and then we thought we'd let Mike talk about the second page. But that gives you an idea of what is gonna be in those areas that he will talk about. Okay? All right.
Any other questions or comments?
Looks good. I think it helps the general public too, to see kind of how it's divided up a little.
So Tanner, one other comment is, where you have future, is that the land that does not belong to the DDA? Is that Arden
Correct.
Weather's land?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
Yep, just don't want to ignore that as we move. Don't want to ignore that. We don't want to ignore that as we move forward. So it's been shown as part of the plan potentially.
Okay? Great. So are you going to introduce Mike? We're just dying to hear what he has to say.
World, meet Mike Williams.
Is it okay if I pull this down?
Please
Oh,
do.
please do.
We can
All right,
hear you.
thank you. All right, good morning. I have to adjust here for Tanner, and I won't be able to see a little better visibility than he is. But anyway, first of all, I want to say it's a real pleasure to be here today. And I think the first planned trip was February, and then a couple of things got in the way, so please excuse this being the first public meeting, but many of you I feel like I already know. If I could, there's some I don't, and there's some I'm guessing at who you are. Could I get a quick public knowledge of who each person is?
I'm Ellen Carrick.
Okay.
I'm Nick Pennell.
Nick?
Al Bourne.
Yes, sir.
Robert Zula.
Yes?
Elijah Murphy?
Okay.
Mary Jo Larson.
And Corey Katziplis, the assistant to the board.
Okay, Corey?
Corey.
Jan Wilson. No, go ahead.
Okay. Ma'am?
Jan Wilson.
Jen?
Yeah,
Okay.
Jan.
Jan?
Mhm.
Jury? No. Tanner, I know. Up here?
I'm Suzanne Leclerc. I work for the City of Woodland Park.
Okay, Suzanne?
Darren Tangeman, city manager.
I remember.
Arden Weatherford.
All right, yes, sir. All right, well, thank you, folks, I appreciate that. It is a real pleasure to be here today, and we've had quite an eventful trip. I moved in 3 family members into the beautiful Woodland Park Trail Ridge Apartments just a couple days ago. And part of my team, we all headed out looking today at a couple of ranches that I'm interested in purchasing. But so it's been an eventful time, but this has been a great exploration, fun, if you can call looking for investments, etc., a fun thing. But first of all, I want to acknowledge before anything else that the DDA has been wonderful to work with, in my opinion, as well. And that's no flattery intended. I couldn't have seen any more impartiality, just honesty, forthrightness in their attempts to do things. And of course, there's a lot of negotiating levels that you have to discuss. And there's been a lot of wiggling that's gone on in the development process, but I just want to give them kudos, and I want to thank you, as well as all of Woodland Park, for the opportunity to even consider this. Next, I want to introduce a couple of our team members. We have a total of 5 team players at this point. They're all families, husband and wives. Generally, the wives have a say, quite a bit of say in what we're doing. But these are great guys. First of all, many of y'all, George Christian is no stranger. George, could you stand up? And George is, I would say he's the creative genius behind this. He and his son, for 20 years, he's told me. In fact, he introduced me to Woodland Station. We were somewhere back over here near the Aqua Center, and we saw a mountain lion. My wife ran out of the woods. And I told George that I might be interested in a commercial piece of property that for our present restaurant, frozen yogurt, cold desserts, and award-winning coffee shop. And he said, "Follow me." And he said, I know the place. And of course, we parked right across from the hardware store, and he showed me. And then for the next, I guess it's been 18 months or maybe even almost 2 years now, George, but at least a year, he shared for me the dreams and visions that he and his son Ryan have come up with. And any of you that know Cottage Creek Living, you've seen his cottages that he and Ryan have developed. I can tell you, it's one of, to my mind, why would anybody ever want a tiny home when they can have a cottage like these guys build? It's one of America's best kept secrets. And I just appreciate George. He's wise. He's got tons of experience. Just him being, he is honestly, you're saying I'm the reason here. I can tell you just as much or more, George Christian's the reason we're here today. And I appreciate him for that. And he loves this city. He cares deeply about it. So George, I really publicly appreciate you, buddy. And so he's been sharing these visions and dreams and ideas and concepts that he's had for the whole idea for quite some time. Also, we have Mark Crozier. Mark is a local here to Divide. He's a local businessman, travels 3 states. Spent several hours with he and his wife the other day, and I can tell you that they are some of my, even though I've not known them very long, George actually built him a house. That's how we got introduced. And some of my favorite people in the world. We've had hours and hours of conversation on the phone, much of it not about business,
because I believe in order to develop a great team that's going to do anything, you got to like each other. You even got to love each other. You got to know how to work through adversity. You know, got to know how to resolve problems. And most of all, you got to want to work together. And that's our buddy Mark Crozier and his wife Diane. They certainly have one of the greatest stories of overcoming adversity I've ever heard in my life. And they're just, Mark, glad to have you here this morning and part of the team. So with those introductions, I'll tell you a little bit about myself real quick, and then I won't bore you. I'll give you a little bit of the narrative so you can see, and then we'll take a quick look at another photo and some other ideas, Mary Jo, as you've mentioned today. I've got a varied history of doing lots of different kinds of ministry, public service work, businesses, you name it. I've kind of done a little bit of everything. Presently, we are involved in several, we were involved in the overnight rental business. I just sold that, and I'm planning on rolling those proceeds over here into an investment here besides this one in the Pikes Peak region. But so we've been involved in the tourism business of overnight rentals. We moved several years. I used to be involved in the flooring industry for quite some time, owned a flooring business that did quite well. Served several franchises, and that's how I got involved in the food industry business. And that's how we ended up in the Smoky Mountains. But we tried, I got to tell you, we ended up in the Smoky Mountains, but it's y'all's fault because we tried here first. Back in the late 90s, we made our first visit. I lived in Saratoga, Wyoming, Snowy Range, beautiful area, loved it. Several years there. And the West won my heart. And but unfortunately, my father was ailing. He had cancer. We knew he didn't have long left. My wife she said she missed people. And that was the one thing I wasn't really missing too much. I was missing elk, natural hot springs, cross-country skiing, some things like that. But I wasn't missing people as much. We ended up back on the East Coast. And we came out here looking for a place to live. We went in the Cripple Creek area, Florissant area, some of the Woodland Park. There really wasn't much available. And this was when the economy fell greatly around 2008, 2009, 2010. And so we ended up finding a great investment cabin in the Smoky Mountains. I said, it's not the Rockies, but it's the Smokies. And so those last 10 years have been invaluable. I mean, we've learned so much about how to capture tourism trade. I just forwarded Tanner an email. I'm sure he didn't get an opportunity to see it. Last night, our cold dessert business, which is Sweet Frog Frozen Yogurt, we have 2 locations in Pigeon Forge, one in Sevierville. And we won the, I don't even know the name of it. But anyways, TripAdvisor Winner's Choice or something like that. And we're rated in the top 10% of restaurants in the world. So we're very proud of that. When we first went there, we each year have won the #1 place in the local newspaper, and I'm competing against some of the best restaurants in the world. But every year in our category, Sweet Frog has won the frozen dessert #1 place. 3 years ago now, we opened Smoky Mountain Espresso, partnering with a specialty group out of Ohio that was the #1 coffee manufacturer in North America. They go to Coffee Fest every year, and typically their barista takes in the top 3 every year out of the best baristas in the world. And our first year open there, we won the Reader's Choice Award for the Smoky Mountains Best Coffee Shop. So much so they said nobody had ever won first place in their first year. So in any category. So we got a big newspaper interview regarding that. So obviously, I don't have to say that I take all the credit for that. Maybe my credit's just falling at the right place, the right time, the providence of God. I don't know what I'll call it, but we like to see things done well. And we've been fortunate enough to have some success. And with that being the case, we started off with George and I just talking about duplicating our coffee shop yoga. We've got a very unique barn-looking building that's very, very attractive. Looks a lot like some of the stuff he builds. And we were going to build it across from a hardware store. And then Taba House came along. And then we were excited about partnering in a group setting. And then, as we know, things changed. And Tanner came to me with an idea that was already in our heart. George and I had already discussed many times. And we said, listen, we've got so many connections and so many ideas already. Why don't we just develop the whole station? And so it began. That's why it's been a process, but not only has it been a process, it's been a lot of change, a lot of alteration, a lot of moving components. And so for those reasons, it's felt a bit sketchy and a bit unstable at times, but it's actually gone pretty smooth for as much progress as we've made. So I want to introduce part of our narrative. One of the things that we were asked by Ms. Riley to do in presentation is to create a narrative. Our future narrative will include probably a little bit more detail on the phases, but this is what we have thus far, and I thought it might be helpful for you. Woodland Park, including Woodland Station, has been used for over a century as a location to rendezvous. The word rendezvous is French, meaning get yourself to a place. Mountain men, fur trappers, Ute Native Americans, and many others in this area's rich and colorful history would set both a time and a place to reconnect and to negotiate trade and swap goods here. Here they would resupply while also refueling themselves socially in the company of friends, very important, before continuing on their life's journey. This area continued to be an important meeting destination as the railroad expanded. Gold and silver brought those seeking fortune, and traders of every imaginable good began to show up to sell their wares. In more recent decades, this land was used for cowboys and cowgirls, near and far, as they joined together in rigorous showmanship to celebrate the Western traditions of horsemanship and ranching in the Rodeo Saddle Club. Thank you for that, Mary Jo. We believe the deep roots and historical significance of Woodland Park and Woodland Station, like America, should not be eradicated. They should not be forgotten. But instead, they should be celebrated, and here in a fun, family-friendly community where the timeless traditions and values that establish this great land are still honored. And that's our agenda. So we thus propose a name for the project being the Rendezvous at Woodland Station, a place to reconnect with family and friends, with history and heritage, with creation and the creator of all things that are good. Come and get refueled for the journey. Here's a purpose and sustainability of the project. The opportunities for growth, sorry, my paper made a long 2,000 U-Haul ride. So the opportunities for growth and prosperous economic future in Woodland Park have never been brighter. Woodland Park, the city above the clouds, is one of the most beautiful and quaint down-home welcome communities in the majestic Rocky Mountains or in the nation that I've experienced. Yet during our more than 1 year of discussions with local businessmen and women, we far too frequently heard terms used about it such as a gas and go or a route to somewhere else, used to describe tourism commerce, used to describe the local tourism commerce. Unfortunately, as I experienced yesterday, I said, I want to go in town. So my kids took all the vehicles and I huffed and puffed up the hill and walked through many of the businesses, some I didn't get to frequent that I wanted, bought a few little wares and trinkets and things like that. But I experienced a great breakfast burrito smothered with gravy and green chili. Everybody ever had one? And donuts. I realized I'd never make it back up the hill again if I ate one of the donuts. But I ate that chili and all my sinuses cleared up. You know, I later went up there and had a boba tea with frozen mango boba tea with blueberry poppers. It was delicious. Mary Jo, there's a local, I mentioned them yesterday, I couldn't think of it, but Stages West is one of the most popular and here, I bet it's probably a $7 million building in the middle of Pigeon Forge, and they have so much Western wear, but I can tell you, they don't have any more hats than you do. And I loved your boots better, in fact. So as I went around and then went to Williams Furniture, and then I saw a piece of furniture, I think Jerry thought it was a little not quite on the manly side, but anyway, I knew my wife would like it. I've already got it picked out, and so I told her about it last night. You got to come see the yellow birch. I mistook it for aspen. Sorry, guys, but anyway, as I came, I realized, you know what? The Pikes Peak region does not know the vast treasures of Woodland Park. I didn't know them. I've been here probably close to a dozen times. my kids always make me eat at the stupid franchise chains, like I own. Mine are unique though. But they've always made, let's get a Domino's pizza, whatever, all this Taco Bell, and I'm going, no way, man, I want to experience what's real, what's good around here. But honestly, as I walked up and down Woodland Park yesterday, Midland Avenue, each store had its uniqueness, and then I'd say, what about the gun store? Tell me about that, Mary Jo. And she told me some of the specialty things they did, and I realized, hey, this is some of the best that the Pikes Peak region, maybe even Colorado, has to offer, and it's not being resourced. It's not being it's public knowledge. The public is not aware of it as they need to be. So let me jump back to my comments. The Pikes Peak region is one of America's strongest and fastest growing tourism destinations. 23 million visitors in 2018. They spent $2.4 billion that year, $6.6 million a day. So I can assume you're all wealthy, right? They provided more than $100 million in local taxes that year. Overnight guests stayed 3.2 nights in the Pikes Peak region. Regional tourism also provided 20,000 jobs. Tourism's on a continuous growth pattern since then. It grew another 7% in 2019. And guests obviously are appreciating what they're finding, as 72% said this was a subsequent returning visit. While with the recent construction of Pikes Peak Summit Complex, is that complete yet or just about complete? Okay, getting close there?
Close.
Okay. And Broadmoor's $100 million renovation of the Conch Railroad leading up to the Summit Complex at the top of America's Mountain, tourism numbers are expected to soar past the present number of visitors and tourism dollars. A few miles down the pass, the Springs is experiencing rapid growth. This is nothing but just rehearsing. I understand you guys know all this, though. Colorado Springs is rated in the top 30 fastest growing largest cities and has grown 17% since the last census in 2010. It'd be interesting to see what the 2020 census says. It's the fastest growing city in the nation for millennials, meaning young people are moving in. My font got small on this and my eyes are not getting better, so hang on here with me. In the next 10 years, it's expected that it'll surpass Denver's population by 2050, and in the next 10 years, there's expected to be another 75,000 residents in Colorado Springs. Cripple Creek is America's famous gold mining town, which is, of course, accessed here through Woodland Park. And planning for this mass expansion of its hospitality and gaming services. And a major focus of their development, as I read up on it, is how do we attract families? That's the key for them. So, also, Breckenridge, a major focus for development. Now Breckenridge is accessed by means of Woodland Park primarily, and it's no longer a sleepy little mountain ski town, is it? Over 300 restaurants and shops. Breckenridge has become a prominent multi-season international vacation destination. So you guys are sitting on a gold mine here. Woodland Park businesses believe they've captured far less than the appropriate share of tourism income, and most visitors miss some of the best that Colorado and Pikes Peak region has to offer. Let me tell you, folks, I believe, and I know you do too, there's still gold in them there hills, right? The question becomes, how do you attract more tourists and nearby locals to stop, shop, dine, and stay in the city above the clouds, either as a final destination or a must-see on the way? Well, the answer in part, we believe, is the Rendezvous at Woodland Station. With its unique blend of wholesome family entertainment, Western heritage, all while taking in the city's million-dollar view, will encourage good folks of every age and background to want to spend a day or more, and more importantly, their dollars, in Teller County, and to make their way back very soon to the city above the clouds. So let me tell you a little bit about our development team. I mentioned there's now, you know about Mark and you know about George. In addition to that, there's myself and my wife, Karen. But then also we have two other unique families from the area of the Smoky Mountains. One is a good old, I call him a tire kicker, Paul Bennett. He's been my mentor for 10 years in business. He taught me what it meant to make customers feel loved. And he also helped me find a premium million location, by the way, too, for our business. And Paul's in that same complex. We just won the top 10 businesses in the world. His Firehouse Subs that he has there, his multiple and commercial properties as well, but his was the #1 Firehouse Subs in the nation for many years. Finally surpassed by Dallas. It's in the local community. It's not even in the tourism community. So he knows how to do business. 2 weeks ago on a rainy, was it 2 weeks ago, George? Yeah, 2 weeks ago on a sunny afternoon, he stood up here, viewed the property. George met with him, and he spent quite a bit of time just evaluating and also proposing a new possible anchor that we might add to it that we're going to talk to when we get back to the Smoky Mountains. And I can just tell you, Paul is a winner. He is a chief among men and character, and he's just taught me a lot, and we're excited at the possibility of having him on the team. Another team member, in addition to these guys that I've mentioned, is a guy named Scott Gardner. Scott Gardner is I think he's the managing owner of Straight Line Strategies. He also is the primary owner of the Parts Plus Top Fuel Dragster. And Parts Plus is a major, I don't know if it's a parts brand out here used or not, but I think it's pretty national and international. Scott's also was the president of the National Hot Rod Association, which at the time was $1 billion industry. Right now, it's not the industry to be in because they've shut down all the races, including the one that was going to be around Denver. But they're beginning to have some of them back. In addition to that, Scott also staged concerts, other specialty venues. At one time, he's owned 3 different location of racetracks previously. At one time, he owned one that had 6 different race courses, and if I'm not mistaken, it was hundreds of acres, included food and beverage and you name it, everything that had to be. And sometimes on one weekend, they would experience revenues of surpassing $500,000. So Scott has a lot of experience. The neat thing about this team that I'm talking about is, honestly, if I had to go around and search, now, I know some other folks that I would probably include, but they are among some of my favorite people in the world. They're some of the highest character people that I've met. They're some of the most genuine people wanting to benefit society. So I'm excited about our team, and I think you wouldn't find a better team should this actually develop. So let me tell you a little bit more about them. A unique team, 5 families, 2 reside locally. We believe they've providentially come together to develop Woodland Park's most focal piece of real estate, obviously. Our unique skill sets and past experiences include, but they're not limited to, real estate development, real estate sales, commercial and residential construction, business development, including multiple new business and organizational startups, restaurant management, ownership, marketing and sales, outdoor concert venue staging and management, property oversight of a prominently recognized summer camp, former president of a $1 billion national entertainment sport, oversight of hundreds of employees and volunteers, serving on town leadership, and have provided thousands of hours of serving their communities, mentoring and training future leaders. And we all, when we finished writing that, turned around and said, who is this dream team? Are we looking for Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen? And he said, yeah, we all wanted to figure out who was who on that, right? Woodland Park benefits. Property taxes generated by the proposed $8 million project will greatly benefit this city, county, and state's treasuries. Sales tax generated from the rendezvous should approach $300,000 annually once all phases are completed. Nearly half of that would remain in Woodland Park, and another $30,000 go to Teller County. The new development would create over 100 or more new jobs for local residents. Now, too often, a local development plan will attempt to draw a large percent of its income from its local competitors and not necessarily create new local commerce or affect it only moderately. But not so with the rendezvous at Woodley Station. Nearly every proposed concept that we're entertaining is new to the area or meant to support Woodland Park's existing businesses. The few businesses that have an existing competitor are necessary to support the needs interior of the complex, and they'll draw most of its customer base from there and not from other venues. So thus, we don't believe it'll have a negative impact on any business. In fact, we think the rising tide will bring all ships up. And we've also opened to having discussions and partnering with existing businesses who expressed interest. It's our hope to help draw enough new consumerism to benefit all the city's businesses. In addition, our team has a DNA of caring about where we're going. I can tell you, I don't even know that, we may joke and talk like we're all going to get rich or whatever, but I don't know too much money's been actually discussed on what we expect ROI on our return. I really don't. Because most of us believe that provision's going to come to us as we work, we serve, we give, we help our communities. You can't help but get a return on that. So our team is deeply committed to meeting needs in the local community. We've reached out to a member of the Downtown Development Authority and Woodland Park City Council member to request their help in the future that we might research community needs that we can help to resolve. We've passed around ideas like this: free entertainment passes being issued through the school system for kids that complete homework, especially kids that are struggling. After-school programs, job mentoring, skill development are being discussed. One of the key reasons I love my business, and I got into both of them, is we mentor high school and young college students. Many of them come from broken families, and we're there to provide life coach, direction, help build self-esteem, help build skills. We're really, each of us, are more into the people building business than we are into the business building business. So service to the citizens of our community will be a part of the DNA of the Rendezvous from its very beginning, if we're afforded that opportunity to do so. So that's all, and should we now look at the, okay. And I'm sorry, I'm a bit.
You have the mouse right there, sir.
The mouse, okay,
Just-
so, go down, scroll
Yeah.
down, okay.
There you go.
All right, so, is that good for everybody? Okay, I'm gonna step back because I can't see with that glare on the screen. All right. There are several proposed areas and things. I think I missed one important factor here. Let me go back to it though, because it describes it. One of the things that it was originated, I believe, by Murph, and we've tried to be very open. We've had a lot of great suggestions, multiple of them from Mary Jo, Murph, and probably other board members that we didn't necessarily know who they were coming from. But let's see, one of the things that we've discussed is if you can see that area called Plaza Event Space. Everybody see that? Right at the very top below the park and below the parking sign. We want to use as much of that as possible. Now, there's several concepts we haven't been able to fit onto this latest drawing because we may be trying to project too much. Wish I had a pointer. Everybody see? Oh, great, thank you. Yes, ma'am. Everybody see it? Okay. See it there? Okay, there we go. Okay, thank you. So the plaza space we're talking about having open because there's so many great things already happening here. We in no way think we're going to be the big it. We believe we just want to add to what already is great here. And there's so many wonderful festivals and opportunities. The addition of the cog car, and Mary Jo mentioned, and every day I've been here, I've seen people at the cog car looking around. We think that would be a great place just to allow people to filter in and down through the community. So that was the first thing we're looking at perhaps allowing some green space there for people to play. Now, during busy times, it'll be filled up with festival people that hopefully will then filter down into the Rendezvous. But at less busy times, it might be a place that a family can enjoy a delicious picnic basket and or toss football. So that's one of the goals there. It may be that as we crunch, we might have to see if we can redeem a little bit of that space to move some other stuff into some important concepts. But we're going to try to maintain as much of that space as possible there. So that's one important part of it. As you come over further, this building was inspired by George Christian, and we're going to call it the Yankee Girl Mine. And George sent that to me. I think, George, it had to be at least midnight here, and I think it was closer to 2 or 3 o'clock. And he and I had been joking about different looks. And honestly, when he first sent it, I thought, he's joking. And we chuckled about it. And then he drew it out, and Tanner will help us in a minute, perhaps get another look at that. But I think it's a brilliant look, and it's going to be great. It'll draw you into the full concept of heritage. It's inspired by a local mine, and I forget the exact location. Do you remember? But it's here in Colorado, not too far away. So, and it's called the Yankee Girl Mine. So that building will house hopefully a couple of residential units in the top floors of it. In addition to that, it'll have 2 entertainment venues that are state-of-the-art, super hot, and will stop people in their tracks to do. But they're very cultural to the mountains and to the area. In addition to that, it'll also host a franchise that's very, very veteran-friendly. It rated in the top 10 for franchises for veterans. Very suitable. There's very few of them in the nation. This is the #1 in the nation. Again, a lot of these come out of Smoky Mountain connections that I have, dear friends, and they're excited about coming to Woodland Station and Woodland Park. So that would be that franchise as well. So that's that building. We're also entertaining another little retail right next to it, somehow calculating it in. We haven't figured that out. Over here's a family entertainment center. There's a lot of possibilities of how that'll flow, and our friend, teammate Scott Gardner is going to guide and help us with a lot of those. He's been researching it. Some ideas do include some lanes, full-size lanes for bowling, indoor miniature golf, some virtual hunting games, perhaps escape rooms. There's a lot of different possibilities. Again, these are just ideas and concepts that we're entertaining, and we appreciate the bubble diagram layout, however Tanner referred to it, to allow us some flexibility, because we've done a lot of research on a lot of this, but we still need a little room to negotiate within that and find the best things that best fit. But that's a family entertainment center. In front of that, you'll find an outdoor miniature golf. We've also proposed a gym mine, perhaps there. As we drop down, we're considering, at least at this phase, that not being a complete thoroughfare, but dropping into parking here. The event center could actually be an old-fashioned barn that also serves as an amphitheater and as a support system for a portable, I think you call it bucking arena, rodeo service there. So lots of things. Glamping is huge in the Smoky Mountains, and it's just one of the growing things. You can pretend like you're camping and take a hot shower and cook a hot meal and drink fresh water, toilet inside, and have a feather bed to sleep on. Now, I haven't tried one yet, but I have friends that have, and they loved it. And there's some unique things that we can do. This would be how much better if you could glamp and look at Pikes Peak simultaneously, right? So we've got some glamping areas, village here and here. And then over to the right is a restaurant, which could be some of our award-winning products. We've not defined that for certain. Over here, we're talking some retail mixed space. And what we'd like to do is have unique retail that is not competitive to here. That's not to say that there wouldn't be anything duplicating something else, but our goal would be to put fun retail, unique retail that's going to draw people as a destination, because they'll know about, I want one of these and I want to go there, some certain things like that. And above it, some of Georgia's unique cottages, 1- and 2-story cottages above that retail to support it right there. And I think that pretty much covers the drawing. There were a couple of things that were left off. We've also entertained in a ropes course and an adventure place. There's some possibilities for where that might fit also. So, but John at NES thinks we're really pushing it. We usually do really push people. So that's kind of who we are. But Tanner, can you give me the next drawing that George did, sir? All right, there's the Yankee girl. So, y'all impressed? Ready to do?
It's a little TLC.
Right at the top there is George's house. There we go, if we can flip that. Y'all wanna look at it sideways?
Top left. It had rotated at the top.
There you go.
Right click on it, Tanner, and there's a rotate command right there in the menu, drop-down menu.
It's so hard to see it.
We were trying to say it'd be shorter if we turned it on the side.
I did see it rotate a minute ago.
Tanner,
I don't know where-
right click in your window
Yeah, it's right
on
in
the
the middle.
picture.
Yeah,
Right
right
click.
click now.
Okay, why?
I- we
is it
saw it a
not
minute
there
ago,
this
didn't we?
time?
No, it's on the, when you right click on it now. There it is. That should be-
We could copy and paste it into a PowerPoint and then rotate it.
Well, do
Looks
we,
at it,
while
looks at
we're
it.
waiting for
Okay.
this, do we have any questions?
Yes,
tonight while
I'll be
we're
glad to,
waiting?
sure.
Rather than just sit here and watch Tanner.
Sorry, guys.
That's okay.
Put on the best show I can.
Get what you paid for.
Tanner, go to PowerPoint, open it, insert, and then you can rotate.
All right, any questions?
Well, Mike, I'd like to comment that, I think that this looks really good. I think it puts the land to use, which it was always designed for, to serve the public.
Thank you.
And I think that your ideas are great, and I think that it might give Woodland Park the destination that we've needed it to be and didn't know what that was. So, along with that, and that you've included the rest of what Woodland Park has to offer, whether it's business, this dinosaur center, all of that, it all flows nicely.
Right. That reminded me, Mary Jo, of an important point George has always pointed out. And one of our team members called me late last night and said, talk about a sign. One of the things that I thought that could serve the community, not only the rendezvous at Woodland Station, but could serve the community, is if you go up on the corner as far as possible. George has always had in mind a water tower with a digital screen on both sides. And he said, have it, the water tower announce the rendezvous at Woodland Station, but then have the digital that also you could have some type of co-op or DDA cooperation or whatever else, that you not only post what buildings that are in the rendezvous itself, the Woodland Station, but also some of these businesses that are not quite as visible, that the signage is not quite as prominent, or that people pass by at 35 to 45 miles an hour and never stop at. So it'd be a great opportunity up in front of this building somewhere on the corner, close to where the signage now, to have so. Yes, sir.
Well, I'm really enthused about what you're doing and all. One part about the recreation building
Mhm.
is, you're talking about some bowling lanes. I've been championing that, but I got to thinking about it. A lot of, what we're focusing on is tourism and getting people to stop and all, but I think if that building could incorporate some more local activities for the locals to draw, would be a really plus.
Gotcha.
in my
Well,
opinion.
thank you, Jerry. And I think the indoor miniature golf will do that year-round.
Yeah.
That's one reason we're entertaining that. It'll be smaller. I think, yeah, so definitely. And I'll admit, me, and especially now that I have a grandchild, I'm revisiting all the fun stops these days. But again, we really believe that the team we've got, and as ideas that you guys offer as well. Mary Jo's put forth 2 or 3 that are wonderful ideas that we, unfortunately, most of them got nixed from this drawing, but we're bringing them back. We believe we can do something for everybody, and honestly, we really do want to do something that's not just tourism. I would love to see something like a 50-50 blend, or our objective in our heaviest tourism store we presently have is about 70-30. So locals love us. I never expected where I went in Pigeon Forge that we would have so much local return. But they love the quality. They say it's our favorite place. There's a high theme recognition, brand recognition, and that's what we want to create. We want to create a brand that suits and fits all of Woodland Station as well. So, but thank you, Jerry. I appreciate your comments. Okay, so viewing this building. Looks a lot different, doesn't it? But it's excellent. All the white with dots are see-through windows that you can view beautiful Pikes Peak. Now, there's been some discussion about it blocking the mountain view, and there's several other pictures that show it in a further distance. But anybody else notice something that's blocking more mountain view than the building? They kind of dwarf it, don't they? The trees kind of dwarf it, so I don't really entertain that argument too much. I know also there's another area here in town. I believe it was a hotel called Page Hotel in Gold Hill Height. It's been granted several variances for height and other things as well. So I understand the need not to block the view of Pikes Peak, nor would we want to. That's why we're incorporating so many windows. And second of all, what is the width on that top peak that would be basically on the third level, George? 16 feet wide. Really, how wide is it between these tables? Probably, I'm an old flooring man, so I'd say 12. So really from me to Tanner is about how wide, maybe a little more, is about how wide the top of that building would be. So it's not going to block America's mountain. So I don't think there should be much of an issue there. And George I don't know how many of you been down Willow or seen what he's done with cutting in and creating little bridges and things. I mean, these guys are so, I don't know where he got. He inspires me and challenges me, and I envy his gift a little bit. But it's beautiful, rock paved, bridges to cross, and that's kind of what we've got in mind. And it sets far enough down the hill so that it is not a block. It's not a block to seeing the whole concept, as Murph has proposed, nor is it a block to the mountain also. And well, I forgot my train of thought. So any further questions? Yes, ma'am.
What's the capacity of the event /video center?
And then of course I didn't even mention the amphitheater. I didn't even mention the amphitheater on the opposite side of it. George, what would you guess? Okay. No, it's not. We're trying to put a lot on. Is it 6 acres total? We're trying to put a lot on there, and in East Tennessee we've got stores. There's one specialty store that would take up the whole place. So we want to create enough that we get a lot of different people. So it'll be small venues. For example, if you ever do the amphitheater, it's going to be a small, intimate venue, and we kind of like that anyway. That's kind of what we're going for. Does that answer your question, ma'am? Okay. Yes.
All right, so the motif for the building facades is Mountain Western, or how would you describe it?
George, I believe I'm going to walk over here with George Christian so he can answer some of this. Well, how would you describe the motif?
Well, I think the intent is to capture the history, which would be the mountain look that you have here. But when you merge all those other things into it, the natural original natives, and you've heard us talk about the gentleman that designed the statues looking for a place to go, and that might be somewhere in all of this. He believes he can raise money to put that here. So, but it's really designed to capture the entire culture, history. If you took Ute Pass, the Ute Indians came up and down the pass as a route. The miners came that way and broke off on the railroad tracks, but a lot came on up the pass. And then the trappers and the fur traders, and that's where the rendezvous concept came from, that it began to be a place Probably if you really analyze it, the real rendezvous place was at the bottom of the hill, down near that area. But the same thing was happening here, and the train came up, and it was a launching spot for the train to go. So it's the Midland, the train culture, the Western culture, the mining culture, all the way back to the trappers, just the original settlers. That whole concept was a place where all those different cultures would gather together to swap and trade and resupply and go back to their lives out into the mountains. And that's kind of the concept of this.
And we've been sensitive to getting the DDA's input concerning. In fact, they've come back a couple times and said, not quite that, this. And then as we've progressed, they've seen our whole theme developing. So we definitely.
Murph has got a question.
No, I was just gonna make a statement. Has everybody seen the fence that they proposed for the southern end? Very western looking, I thought it was a brilliant idea.
Great.
You know, the more things that come in here, the better it keeps looking. Okay, as they go forward, they're doing the mountain western theme that,
Maybe you can describe the fence.
It looks like a ghost town. It's
yeah, it looks like a ghost town.
it's basically a wooden, natural colored fence that looks like a ghost town. So instead of just looking at a fence, it actually gives you something to look. We'd also had a proposal a long time ago, George mentioned maybe have a mural, but that might require, be a lot more expensive project to do, but that could be incorporated into some of it as well. I've seen some beautiful murals here. So something that draws attention, is attractive to view, gives you a sense of culture and history, and not just a panel. That's what we're looking for. So we're open to ideas. That was just one I threw out.
It would be a great backdrop for photos.
It would
Or
be.
just a whole-
That's a great.
It would be. We'll have to punch some holes out for Mary Jo's stick her face in there.
Okay,
I don't know.
well, if we, go ahead,
I
Ellen.
have one
Yeah,
more
so-
question.
Yes, ma'am.
So the living areas above
be
the
good to s-
retail,
Mhm.
is that Airbnb, or is that yearly, or long-term, or short-term?
Yes. We're not really sure. And, it's going to depend on, now, obviously, it's a large project, and we haven't contacted Bill Gates about it yet. So there's going to be some processes, and some of it's going to have to be, yeah, please don't. There's going to be some successes that have to happen as we go. Some of that will probably require some sales. Several of us have already expressed interest ourselves in owning one of them. So it may not be. But we are considering some overnight. We may be considering some, I guess you'd call long-term rentals. So we're open to all of that, as well as being open to saying who's interested in some of the retail space below it. We're thinking some artists and other people might say, this would make a great place for my art gallery below, and I can live above. The same might happen for an architect or a law firm. We don't know. We're not necessarily trying to attract. We want to attract things that can bring people is the first focus. So, okay.
Thank you, Mike. Al?
Mike, in this particular presentation that you made, there's some great ideas.
Thank you.
There's another industry that isn't mentioned in all here, but yet is very important to our region.
Okay.
And that is the off-road enthusiasts for both mountain biking, dirt biking, ATV, UTV, and Jeep. We
Oh, wow.
have a large number of trails in Teller County,
Mhm.
in Park County, and in Douglas County that are accessed through Woodland Park.
I'm searching for some of those right now.
That is multi-day, each year. There are, a large number of days that goes on. Is that something that we want to look forward to?
Well, we absolutely could, and that could be something that could look at the adjacent property. There's also been discussion of perhaps something might want to happen with the property that's now a trailer park as well.
Yeah.
So, yes, and Al, we'll welcome your ideas. I don't immediately know how we could put that into place on a small phase, but,
It may not be appropriate.
well,
But,
we
it's a large industry that's multi-day.
gotcha. We are,
Maybe a greater number of people, even that are horse enthusiasts,
mhm.
because there'd be day trippers out of the springs, and then ideally, it'd be cool if you could trap them for multi-day. day experiences here.
Yeah, that would be, that would be.
Because now you've got a large audience.
Well, we're hoping the barn and the rodeo can play into a little bit of that. We haven't totally incorporated it. We've also looked at a carriage, a horse-drawn carriage. There are several that are
Sure.
for honeymooners and just people who just, maybe one with a Western style too. But definitely, we're looking into that. We do have one anchor store that is proposed right next to the Yankee Girl Mine that will catch outdoor enthusiasts. It's a specialty store to the Smoky Mountains that will capture outdoor enthusiasts, but it didn't hit the ones you're talking about. So we would love to find a way to do that. And if not, it would be great if we could partner with somebody else that has another property that wants to.
Sure.
Any of those. But thank you for that. And please put that to thought, and the board put that to thought, if you can think of a way to incorporate it. We realize the best ideas come from groupthink, and typically. They got to be thinking, though,
They
right?
could certainly replace the historic horse. Powered or pedal-powered stuff, yeah.
There you go.
I mean, it's a lot of people.
Well, and we have thought about pony rides and et cetera down there at the barn, but those may not be. They require a little more facilitation and a lot of on-site work, and you figure out, okay, you can actually have real stables in there and those kind of things. So I'm sure Mary Jo can help us with that too. But yeah, I love the ATV, four-wheeler, RZR, all that kind of concept.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. We'd love to find some way to at least attract them.
Sure. Some of the ski areas have certainly tried to capture that market in the summer, where then it goes back to either snowmobiling or skiing in the winter. And it's a nice augmentation.
Right. Well, we'll put our team on it, and you guys put your team on it, see if you come up with anything for us too.
Okay, well, Mike, I can't tell you how glad we're here. We need to move on with this.
Yes, ma'am.
We still have a full agenda. What you have said has really inspired myself, I hope the whole board in this room. I think that there's a lot of possibility here, and we're anxious to move forward as quickly as possible.
Well, great. Well, we'll be working with the board and then definitely addressing the city as well. And we want to thank Sally for her help. And I think we also had the attorney for the city, and I know we've had the city manager and then city councilman, everybody involved in some of the Zoom meetings and stuff. So we appreciate all of you. We love, by the way, I'll just tell you, my youngest son moved in and he said, Dad, and he's 21. You know how hard they are to please. And he said, I couldn't be happier. I love everything about here. And that's how our family feels. We feel this is our place. It may not be our place for a while. It may just be our second home for a long time. But we feel like we belong with you. So we're here.
Good, good. Thank you, Mike. Thank you so much. Okay. We have members and structure of negotiating committee. Tanner, that's you. You have anything to contribute on that? Should we just, any?
Nothing further.
Okay, we'll just move on to Woodland Station landscape and maintenance. I want to thank Nick and Robert. They mowed the property Sunday, and it looks a lot better. And we could have almost bailed it, the grass was so tall. So.
And it's more than 6 acres, I don't care what anybody says. Poor Robert was on foot, but I found out where the tractor couldn't go.
Or shouldn't go.
Or shouldn't go.
Okay, so moving on in the
Also, Mary Jo, just to let you know, I
Yes.
gave Tanner the bill for that.
Good.
We had, approved 500. We stayed way under budget on that, so.
Well, and we did that because you two volunteered your
Well,
time.
but
So we thank
as
you
far as
very
getting
much
stuff,
for that.
We stayed under the 500 for you.
Good, good. We made money.
And I have to apologize, I do need to leave.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Nick. The Cog Cart Pavilion, we met with Dave Langley. He's here today. Thank you for coming, Dave. We have some drawings in the works, so we are moving forward with some kind of a platform so that we can get in and out of the car and use it. So, we'll have something more at the next meeting. So, moving on for that. And the Sally, the Cog Railway interpretive panels. Now, these are through the Historical Society, and, these are kind of information panels, like when you're in the forest and taking a hike and, go ahead, Sally.
Thank you, Mary Jo. On the front of this sheet is a summary of the history of the COG car. And this was generated out of the Historical Preservation Committee, the city's committee, that David Langley and Carol Harvey and Lori Gloth and Jim Unruh sit on. And so we, the Historic Preservation Committee, felt like many people are visiting the COG car right now, but there's no information. So the group put together, Carol Harvey actually wrote all of this, and Kelly Case donated a realtor's little container so that our maintenance crews are monitoring this and putting flyers in there so the public has some information, until we have an opportunity to provide permanent interpretive signage panels. So on the back side of this is a description of the important key points when you're designing a panel that you have seen in the public spaces, whether it's Mueller State Park or the fossil beds. Park County has done an amazing job with their interpretive panels throughout the county. So what we're here today to ask for is a contribution toward the Ute Pass Historical Society staff to develop the content for a panel that could be installed at the car. And this panel would be a prototype for future panels that can be strategically located throughout our downtown that would interpret Woodland Park's history that George Christian so eloquently described. And this would provide points of interest for folks as they're walking about town. And you know that for placemaking, walkability is the #1 goal, is to get people to stop, park, and explore our beautiful community and our businesses and restaurants. So it would be approximately $600 to be able for Carla Schweitzer from the Historical Society to pull together the content and the research, the fabrication of this panel, and produce the cost estimate. That wouldn't necessarily pay for the panel itself, but it would do all of the research and the design that is needed to be able to fabricate this panel. So I understand from Mayor Carr, who is monitoring the donations for the COG car, that there is $200 remaining in Dwayne Carter's contribution to the COG car. And so we're asking for an additional $400 from the DDA's budget. And I believe the treasurer has said that there is still funding in the beautification line item available in 2020. So this is a project that will create the stage for future panels, and it is something that if we can get coordination and collaboration from the Historical Society, the Preservation Committee, the DDA, Main Street, the Chamber can let folks know that these panels will be available. And then our goal will be to apply for a grant through the CLG, that's our Certified Local Government State Historical Fund, and get them produced. So, but we need a plan, we need cost estimates, and this would be the seed money to do that.
Okay. Board, discussion.
Yes. I agree. I think we should put the funds towards it.
Well, Sally, I really liked your idea of this being a prototype for panels we can go use throughout the city to bring some of that historical history alive. I like that. So you're saying this, the CLG grant would further, you take this seed money and then you would work with a grant to bring this out across the city? Is that kind of what I'm?
That's correct. Once we see what the cost estimates are for these, then we'd be able to ask for a reasonable amount of money from the state to implement the overall plan.
And just traditionally, what sort of dollar figure are you looking at from a grant? What's kind of the range that you look at?
I really, well, it's very competitive, but maybe somewhere between 15 to 20,000.
Good.
Great, thanks.
I personally think it's a good idea.
Can I ask, what is the money for exactly? I mean, is it your?
It's to develop the content, so it pays for Carla Schweitzer to be able to research and come up with the photos and the text and the design for this panel, and then also the fabrication so that we have solid cost estimates of the implementation, the construction and installation. So you'll be able to have a prototype that then we can expand for the grant in January to go to the entire town.
So it's for your time, right?
It's for the Historical Society's time to be able to develop this project to a point that we can apply for grant money.
Okay. Well, we need to move on. Murph, you've got comment?
No, I want a solid picture of what that deliverable actually is going to look like and when it's going to be delivered. Because that's part of it, you know, even if it's only a verbal contract, at least we have it verbally on public record.
Okay, I can develop a scope of work, and the deliverables will be done by the end of September.
Tanner?
Question about the approach to design. If I understand you correctly, the $400 that you're asking for from the DDA plus the $200 that Mayor Carr mentioned.
Yes.
Would be used to develop the content and a design.
Yes.
No actual fabrication of anything.
No.
Okay, so material, color, size, style of the actual panel would be.
Spec'd. It will have the specifications for all of that.
And so what is the approach to that design? Is there anyone providing some vision or direction?
Yes.
Or where's that artistic direction
Well,
coming from?
the city has a graphics contractor as well, and we will, once we get the content and the type and the specifications, then we'll ask our graphics designer to put the final touches on it. And I have those funds in contract services in the planning department.
Do you have any preliminary thoughts on what the materials are? Is this metal and plexiglass?
It definitely needs to be very durable, so that it's long-lasting in the elements, and that's why we need to have somebody give us advice and do the research on this. So we will quiz other public spaces and similar whether it's Park County, how they did this, what's the pros and cons. So that is the need, is to have somebody really dig deep in making sure that these panels are durable.
So function being one thing, form being another. From a form standpoint, are you seeking to reflect the history and heritage of the area, similar to what we heard from the developers? And
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Any more comments, questions? Could I get a motion whether we would like to grant the $400?
Bourne moves to provide $400 for the construction of that plaque.
Okay.
Second
And use
that.
the 200 left in the COG account.
That's not for the construction, it's concept design.
The concept is not, I'm sorry, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
I'll
Yes.
second that motion.
Jan seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed unanimous?
Thank you very
you.
much.
You bet. Okay, moving on to business support pressure washing. Tanner?
Last I heard from Top Gun Pressure Washing is that they plan to begin work this evening.
Tonight?
Yep, and work through the night.
Okay, good deal. Any comments on that?
Yay.
If not, moving on to community marking. Murph?
Okay, so every Friday at the, every other Friday at the Historic Ute Inn at 8 a.m. we have a community marketing meeting. And right now, we're working on commercials, or getting a commercial done. And we're going to target the Colorado Springs area / military community. One of the nice things about that military community, it changes every 4 years, all right? It's 100% rollover almost. There's very few people that just stay in one spot that long. But Robert came up with a number of items that I'm gonna work with to write the script for this. And we're going for overall concept of how to attract people to the area, okay? Should COVID ever go away around November 4th.
So when is the next meeting, Murph? When's the
This Friday is the next meeting.
Is that the one that's at 8 in the morning?
It's 8 a.m.
Okay.
I have coffee on. Yes, ma'am?
Is this in conjunction with the city's marketing plans? Is this in combo with?
The city hasn't sent anybody over yet, but maybe.
Because I know we were attending the
These-
city's marketing efforts,
Mhm.
and so I just wondered whether it was a collaborative
Not,
idea.
Robert's been there. That's,
Oh, good.
Is this part of what you've been working on with Karen
Yeah,
at all?
because we talked about this
Yeah.
exact thing with Karen a while back.
Karen.
Yes, Karen.
Yeah.
Karen's welcome to attend the
Okay.
get-together with us. But, like I said, this is what, this will be the third get-together, I think. Third time we've gotten together.
The date time, do you do it every?
Every other Friday. This
Every-
Friday is the third one.
Okay, this Friday.
Yes, and then it'll be 2 weeks from Friday for the next one.
So are you putting it out to the local business owners, and who is on the email list, the invitee list? I just wondered. 'cause
Yeah, right now it's just been a verbal.
Okay,
In
I
fact,
just
I've got
wondered.
a videographer, a guy that's a local videographer, he's coming because he wants to be involved in helping grow the businesses and stuff.
Seems like the chamber should, if they want to come as well, sort of include.
It seems like anybody who is interested may attend at
Thank
8
you.
o'clock
Thank
this
you.
Friday. Anybody, okay, from the entire community. It is not an organization, okay? We're not pushing this as a DDA. We're
Okay.
not pushing this as anything. This is an open meeting for any and all organizations, businesses, individuals from the community.
Okay,
Okay, it is totally inclusive.
okay.
Thank you, Murph.
No problem.
Okay. Any more comments on that? We have general discussion. Ellen, we'll start with you. Do you have anything?
No, just enjoying this beautiful summer weather, even though we're having afternoon storms. I think there's still a lot going on, and Woodland Park is exciting to hear about the rendezvous at Woodland Station. Enjoyed the briefing. Thank you.
Al?
Nothing additional, thank you.
Okay. Robert?
No, it's been a great meeting them.
Yeah. Murph?
Said my piece.
Okay. I think I don't know about everybody else's business, but our business is still holding strong. People are out and about, coming from all over, everywhere that's hot. They're up here. And, I'm glad to see that for our community. I hope our sales tax reflects that. Corey? Jerry?
Well, I think it's important to acknowledge the passing of Neil Levy. I know that,
Let's get to that.
Yeah.
and I know we didn't all always see eye to eye on some issues, but I'm gonna miss him for one. He's he was very important to this community, and he was basically a very good person. And then secondly, I'd like to point out that my excitement for what Mike Williams is bringing to the table here, I can't wait to see that Woodland Station developed. I think it's time, and so I just want you to know any support we can give, count on me being in your corner, because I want to see it happen. And then my wife would like me to keep saying, every time I show up to one of these meetings, she says, you need to hit home. She says, you explain to people that there is a lot of tax revenue being brought into this city because of the DDA. A lot of tax, from, you think about all of the development that's happened because, so, the DDA is not a bad thing. The DDA is a good thing. And I just want to remind people of that. At least ways my wife does. Thank you.
Well, I think that's good, Jerry. We seem to be saddled with the Woodland Station cloud, and it's been much more, starting with the Dinosaur Center, the apartments, the Big O Tires, the dollar store,
Yep.
the motel, all of it. Tractor Supply, all of that. And I don't think that we've gotten credit for how successful those projects have been. I agree with that. Jan?
Mountain Memorial Funeral Home published an obituary for Neil. There's going to be a celebration of his life on Sunday, August 9th at 2 o'clock. It will be a private celebration of life, but it will be streamed live, so if any of you care to watch it, it's at 2 o'clock on Sunday the 9th. And I have a link for that page. I'll read that off. I can share that with anybody, but it's www.ipgmedia.live/Neil Levy. And you can, it's going to be streamed, so anybody can watch that. But to actually go to it, it's private. So, which is understandably. And I just wanted to tell Mike, I'm very excited about what you had to present today. I have a small little thing I'd like to share with you later, but I'm very excited for Woodland Station, the rendezvous at Woodland Station. Thank you.
Tanner?
Only one thing, and that is this Thursday at the city council meeting, the city does have the sales tax vendor fee and business license fee on their agenda for discussion. And it was nearly a year ago when this board initiated that conversation around public policy that does affect the health and prosperity of the district and of the city at large. And so as, I guess, the board that started that conversation and passed a resolution sometime thereafter in support of these proposed policy changes, I want to make sure that the board is aware. Council will be discussing those on Thursday, and ask if there's any further thought on our message to the council, or who might be there to speak or answer questions or champion some changes.
Okay.
Hi, Al.
Thanks.
Well, unfortunately, if we get out of the meeting, I'm gonna go on 4 days of R&R, so I'm not gonna be around. I've gotten to that point where I need to go, rest. But thank
Well, you don't look it.
Tanner, thank you for that update, because I was not aware of that yet, so thank you for that update. If we need to go and support that. Choose your fate. Okay, if the board's done, we'll start around the room to see if there's any general discussion. Suzanne?
Thanks, Mary Jo. I'd like to first thank the acknowledgement of the loss of our former beloved mayor. The city staff is heartbroken. We've worked with him for 6 years and have known to come and love him very, very much. It's a huge loss to the city staff. What I did want to say from a city perspective and the chamber perspective is on Sunday, we are opening up the Cultural Center at a little before 2 o'clock, and working with Debbie, we're going to be live streaming the service. If people would like to come and gather, we are able to accommodate with social distancing 100 people there. We're starting with our council, our boards and committees first for invitations, and Debbie's starting with her chamber board, and then whoever else would like to come and gather. Some light refreshments will be there, and some people can be together.
Good, Suzanne, that's good.
The other thing is the city's honored that Mayor Levy's being buried in the city cemetery. And so we are honored to have him in our city cemetery. Second, today is the first day that people can start picking up petitions for the November election. They can pick them up at my office. If they can call me so I can assure that I'm here, that would be appreciated. They can pick them up today, and they're due back into my office by August 24th. And then the third is, you guys can leave the tables because we have a meeting after this.
Okay.
So thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne.
Around the room, Rusty, Colt, anything? Dave, thank you for coming. I hope this was very informative for you.
It's very helpful for we can get you as a follow-up on where to go with the platforms.
We are too. We'll get right on it. Okay. Sally?
There's another handout.
I wanted to encourage the board, the DDA board, and the community that you may like to consider 2 books for your summer reading. So I have enjoyed both of these books very, very much. The first one is called Strong Towns, and Charles Mahon, you would like to go on the internet. He has an amazing principle about how towns need to really focus on the return on investment. So the ROI is very important for cities as well as private businesses. And so I encourage you to check out the Strong Towns videos on YouTube. They are very, very enlightening, and the decisions that the DDA makes about encouraging investment in our downtown is really, really critical. So I appreciate Mike Williams and his team that is interested in investing in Woodland Park, but it is not just for the private sector, it's the public sector as well, and I was very pleased that he is definitely considering how to enhance Woodland Station from a public standpoint as well as the economic development and business side. The second book is Learning from Bryant Park. Even though Bryant Park is in Midtown Manhattan, there is a lot for us to learn. It's all about placemaking. And you know, for the last year and a half, 2 years, we've been focusing on how to make very incremental, small improvements that make a big difference. So add these 2 books to your reading list this summer. And if you're not a big reader, you can go online and just Google Strong Towns. Thank you.
Strong towns. Okay. Debbie?
I want to reiterate what Suzanne said regarding Neil. Neil served on the chamber board from '07 through 2013. He was our treasurer, he was our chair-elect, our chair, past chair, and then the following year, he was our wagon boss. Neil has served the chamber, the community so well, and he had such a passion for this community. So if you plan on attending Sunday, please either call me or Suzanne so that we don't overbook the cultural center, and let us know. On another note, we are still working with the PPP program. There's a 4th iteration in DC right now. You still have through August 8th to apply if you can find a bank with money that they are still loaning. We're working with that. The EIDL loan is completely closed at this point in time. And there is a new program out that I'll be getting out from, I believe it's called the Colorado Engine. It's a new program through Colorado, the state of Colorado, that I'll get the information out. So we're still working with making sure we get verified information out to the businesses. I know many of you have participated with the PPP program, and it's constantly changing, as Catherine Perry and Shannon Anderson will tell you, and their rules and regs. So we will continue to follow up with all the information regarding how to help businesses survive during this COVID era.
Thank you. Jeanette? This lovely lady has joined us in our marketing program. She's going to be at our next meeting. And she has some expertise in creating marketing skills, so. Do you have anything to say?
I'm just really excited. We're just starting to get into this. Me and Robert took a walking tour on Saturday for a couple of hours, visiting businesses, getting a sense of, who the movers and shakers are in Woodland Park. And so I'm really excited to get on board and see what we can do in terms of marketing strategies. So much of everything is online right now because people are distancing, and so, if we can get the word out to them, and, the branding of Woodland Park is gonna be really fun, just in terms of, what we can do for tourism. So I just appreciate learning and, being a sponge this morning.
Good. We're glad to have you on board. George?
Good.
Mike? Good? And, okay. All right, then, I guess I just need a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Al, second,
Second.
somebody by Robert, all those in favor?
Aye.
Snoop. Okay, thank you, meeting adjourned.
Don't run away.
I was surprised, it was a big crowd. I didn't realize so many city Thursday.
You know, everybody's got to leave by 9. We just had a really full meeting. Yeah, very good meeting.